Yeah, you also did stuff. I'm from Pittsburgh. You did stuff at CLO.
I did. Yeah, that was kind of my like training ground for a while
Yeah,
there. Like all these great fun big roles
yeah.
that I got to do during the summers there. Yeah, I love it there.
Good.
Prantles. I love the almond cake. I
Oh
want
my
it.
God. That's like my husband and I drive there. I was like, we cannot leave the city without going to Pringles.
It's so good. And it's kind of weird that like you really can't get it anywhere else. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's one of my favorite desserts is the Prantles almond tort. And I like
Yeah,
think about it at least it's kind of my Roman Empire. I do think about it
yeah.
like once a month, wondering where it is, how to
Love
get
that. Ugh,
it.
that's great. Um, I'm sure everyone's telling you how much they love the show. I heard somebody on Twitter say, "Of course you're gonna love the four seasons if you are white and middle-aged." And I'm like, "Here I am.
Hello.
This is me."
Hello.
Um, I was having a crazy, like when you see someone on TV and I was like, I know her. How do I know her? And then I realized I've seen the video of you singing Apex Predator like a million times.
Wow.
So I'm just really nerding out on you right now, so forgive me.
I love
Um,
that. That's so funny. Is it the video of us doing it on the Today Show or when we recorded the
in the
countdown one?
studio.
Okay, yeah, that's a really cool
Yeah,
music video.
that's a cool music video.
Yeah, I think that's
Um,
the best song in the show. And I say that all the time to Jeff. I'm like, all the songs are good, but that one really like
yeah,
popped off to a new level.
that's a good sweet spot for that show.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um,
I love that.
we're not even talking about a show. We're just going to talk about random shit. So,
Oh my gosh, that's my dream. I was like, let's just talk about the best baked goods across the United States,
yeah,
do some
okay.
therapy for our
Do some
Midwestern
therapy.
rivalry, and then we'll call
Yeah,
it. That
of
sounds
course.
good.
I want to ask first about like reality versus expectation.
Love
Um,
it.
Ginny, I sort of don't know how she did it, any of this. Um, I guess the thing that I kept wondering is what do you think Ginny was most nervous about, and how does that kind of feel planning it in her head versus actually being there?
It's so funny. I I think all she gets nervous about are people having a good time. And I
Hmm.
don't think, and I think this is her like greatest asset, but it's her fatal flaw with this friend group, which is like she is like so overtly optimistic that like because she always comes from a place of like goodness and like earnestness, I don't think she ever realizes how her actions or words could be perceived as annoying or out of line or like out of step with like the vibe. But
Okay.
I think like for me the biggest thing was because on paper there are things she does that like I would be like, "Oh my gosh, I would never have the confidence to ask the ex-wife of the man I dated for 6 months to speak at his funeral." I would just never have that confidence. But I realized I was like, well, everything just has to come from a place of like love and earnestness. So I just thought like, right, of course, because she was like deeply in love with him. So like I've watched friends be in relationships that I don't understand, but they've been married for upwards of 10 years. And I just go, well, they
Sure.
clearly have something that I don't know about. And that was sort of what I kept coming back to was like she feels and is aware of like the honesty of the relationship, and none of them are. But
Hmm.
like to her, this was a great love. And so it would be absurd to her to not speak at the funeral. So like she's always leading with that,
Hmm.
not trying to claim ownership, but like always leading from a place of like, well, I loved him and I
Yeah.
do continue to love him. So like I obviously want to talk about, you know, it's funny. It's like I when I got married, I had friends who were like, wait, we're speaking at your wedding, right? And I was like, no. They're like, wait, but
No.
we love you. And I had to realize like,
Hmm.
oh, it has nothing to do with them like wanting to take up airtime. They're just like, wait, but we love you. Like, why wouldn't
Hmm.
we talk? We love you so much and we want to talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, there's uh, earnestness is such a great word for her because I can understand how Ginny's presence would be grating or so awkward or
Yes.
um you could probably lean into that, but you don't lean into that at all. And it's sort of like the sort of earnestness about the funeral itself kind of reminded me of like, well, you know the honesty of the relationship, so you kind of assume maybe everyone sees that too.
Correct.
So that felt very real to me. So I
And
don't know. And
it's very alarming when she realizes that they don't know. Like, I think what is so upsetting, and I think about this all the time because there's that like big freak out scene, and I think like obvious where she gets mad at the friends, and I think it's like been death by a thousand cuts,
mhm,
pregnant, so there's like that inner secret. But then I also think it's just like realizing like these people have no idea that she loved their friend as much as they loved their friend. And like
yeah,
I think that can be so upsetting to be like, no, like I I saw what you saw as well, and I got to be a part of it. And
mhm,
to feel that this relationship was given no weight by his best friends, I think is so upsetting to her. And I think that's
yeah,
why that scene felt very justified to me, as opposed to, oh, this girl is out of line.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like too, and I think we don't honestly know like the gravity of 25 years of friendship. I feel like we sort of can't
Yeah.
understand that until we
Have it.
understand that ourselves. But
Correct.
there's all these little moments where I felt like I was really kind of really satisfied for Ginny, like when oh, I don't know, like when she disappears in that final episode and Kate is like, well, she's not answering her phone. And it's sort of
Yeah.
like these little things about how there is some communication that it sort of made me as a viewer being like, yay, they're like kind of they're
Yeah.
accepting her, and it probably feels very mountainous for her,
Yeah.
for Ginny. Like
Yeah.
in the same way, like in when you guys are at the beach and Kate comes over and she's like, "Hey, can I sit next to you?" I'm sure like Ginny on the inside was like, "Oh, what's
Oh
happening?"
my God. Yes. Like truly screaming, which I like always hope was like, I hope you can see like the moment. I don't even know if it made the cut, but there was like a cut where it was like, there was a take where it was really like, yeah, yeah, like just like so excited. And I was like, like I was like, tamp that down. But it was very fun because I was like, that, I think that is what she was like on the
Yeah.
inside. And you're so right. Like, I don't think it's a shock. Obviously, she has to call the friends, but she calls Kate when Nick dies.
Hmm.
And like, oh my God, that was like such a wild day because Tina said she was like, I don't want to hear the voice call. So she, like, we
Hmm.
recorded it on set on a different day. And they were like, okay, just like go. Imagine you have to call this person and say their friend died. And it was actually like, I have had a long relationship with Tina. So this was like one of the few things where I thought, like, literally, what would it be like to have to call this person that I like? It was one of the few moments where like using the relationship in the real world actually
Hmm.
helped the
Mm.
because I just thought I was
Okay.
like I would lose it, I think, if I had to like ever tell her something like that.
Yeah, I thought about that phone call a lot too, and I was like, you have to be the person to do that. That there's like an odd, I don't say pressure with that too, but it's like you have to be the bearer of that news. That's horrible. It's really
Terrible.
bad.
So
Yeah.
terrible.
Um, I guess I wanted to ask about how you kind of felt. Maybe this goes along with that earnestness that we were talking about, but the
Sure.
sort of like the other woman trope.
Yeah.
How did you guys talk about maybe subverting that? There's the sort of when I rewatched it a couple days ago, when episode two starts, and we see Nick first, and we see everyone kind of reacting to what is going on. And then we it's a great shot of you
Yeah.
from behind, and then it was like, oh, that's not his wife.
That's not her.
No, 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 no. I guess I want. Did you sort of talk about that? Is that something maybe you thought about yourself? I just think that is such a standard thing that we hear
Yeah.
in comedies. But yeah, yeah.
Well, we definitely talked about it. And like, it's funny. When I got the audition, and I will say, I think like the 1981 movie, I watched it like right before I
Mm,
auditioned. And the way Bess Armstrong plays the character, we're obviously different people, but I was like, that's an intelligent person. She's young and like
mm,
her energy is probably ingratiating to this group of middle-aged people.
yeah.
But I was like, that to me was like a great jumping off point. And then when
Mm,
we started getting the scripts and they were so different, and Ginny actually is a lot more involved in their lives in our adaptation.
hmm
It was more like checking in with our directors all the time, being like, what dial are we turning here? Like, are we
mm,
going to turn up the youthful excitability? Is it like, is she so unaware because she's so excited, or is she constantly happy and checking in with them? So it was sort of a discussion like every beat, because I feel like it was really important to track that she was aware when things were going wrong, but that she couldn't ever be a victim. Like to me,
oh
one of the
yeah.
hardest scenes, and it was one of the first things we shot, and I like what we ended up with, but it was one of the days where I walked away and I was like, that scene's really important, and I don't know if we got it, but it's the scene where Steve comes to the hotel room after Lila's play.
Mm,
And it was really interesting. That play, the way it was just described in the script was Ginny is crying watching the play, and Steve finds her crying after the play. And I was like, I am not gonna cry. And I just didn't do it. I like nobody said, I just looked at that description and I was like, she's an adult woman. She's not gonna let an 18-year-old girl make her cry. That to me feels like really pathetic and weird. And I've had friends who had the girlfriend who shuts herself in the room and is crying and they suck. And I was like, I can't let this character, because I care about her, nor can I let Steve's character have to deal with this. So, like,
yeah.
that was sort of where sometimes I just be like, I'm not going to, I don't think it was a wrong choice, but because I had spent more time with the character, I was like, this doesn't feel right anymore. I think she's obviously upset, but it's not about this 18-year-old girl. It's about that she knew
Mm,
she should not have come to this trip. So it's not tears. It's just like, I kind of want to make myself scarce. Like, I'm just going to
yeah.
leave and deal with this later so I don't make it more awkward. So, yeah.
I think it's more impressive how it's handled in the show. Like there's a lot of I kept thinking a lot about how it's like she knows what she's in for, or
Yeah.
maybe she thinks she knows what she's in for, but when she's faced with it, it's just all right. I'm in it. I have to
Yeah.
figure out how to do it. But it's also like I like that even more because those moments where you don't expect, like when you guys are playing frisbee and you
Yeah.
guys like knock into each other and the way that Ginny is able to kind of take what is thrown at her and kind of pivot from it and sort of
Yeah.
take it in when she's like, "Well, I was trying to hit you," and you're like, "All right, let's
That's
hug."
fine.
That's
You can
great.
hate me.
It's sort of
Yeah.
like you understand her perspective and you're saying it to her face.
Yeah.
That's a much more interesting choice for me to see an actor do that. So that's really cool that you say
Yeah.
that. Um, I gotta ask about the I just kind of want to ask about reading the finale because I thank God it was not spoiled for me what happened. But
Yeah.
because originally I was going to ask you, was like, do you think you'll ever see this friend group again? And because the tether, I don't want to say tether is severed. That sounds a little
But
dramatic,
no, but it is.
but
The
it is.
tether covered when he
But
dies. Yeah.
and I don't know. There's something about the way that Carrie looks at you at the very end. That look that is such a beautiful
It's
thing
so
between the two of you.
it's so
Yeah.
Carrie nailed that moment. And I think it's so smart that Carrie says she's pregnant. I think that was like,
Hmm
because that's just a big sell at the end. That's a big thing to sell at the end of a series.
hmm
Just dropping that. And I think the way Carrie did it, it's like, God, God, it's so good because it says so much. It says I'm aware she told me I'm letting her sit at our table. I'm in
Mm-hmm.
Carrie's sweater, which is this like great moment of
Mm-hmm.
wardrobe. And she says it with this like wry, but also like sweet knowingness,
Mm-hmm.
where she's like, it feels like this beautiful thing of like, of course, this 32-year-old got pregnant. Like, God, what was she thinking? But also, like, yeah, what, you were gonna abandon her? Like,
Yeah.
she's with us now. And I think her saying it is the thing that, I don't dare to dream about anything in season two. I have no expectations, but I was really happy when I saw the final cut because I just thought like the way it's shared feels like there has been an olive branch extended via Carrie to keep me around this group as she goes through, being pregnant with Nick's
Hmm.
child.
And the way that it's edited too, because I watched the finale alone at like 1 o'clock in the morning. My
Oh
husband
my
was
God.
asleep upstairs, and she's like, she's pregnant, and that it doesn't give you a second to breathe. It's just like she's pregnant, credits. It's so fast, and
Yeah.
I was in my house in the dark. I was like, pregnant, just like, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, and then like, watch the credits or the next thing to come up on Netflix. I was like, no, wait. I
Yeah.
think it was a really cool feeling to sit in as
I
a
think it's
viewer.
too. I also like that they didn't cut to me afterwards because I don't think it's
Hmm.
really about like what's Ginny like. It's not about
What's gonna?
Ginny's pregnancy. Like that's not what season two is going to
Hmm.
be about. It's about this woman being like. It's so much more about Anne's feelings in that moment. And I remember like we shot that, and I was like I hope they don't use me as the final
Hmm.
face because, like, this story is not about me. The story is about this group of friends and how I interact with them. And
Yeah.
I was really, like, delighted. I thought it was really smart the way they did it. It doesn't give you a second to breathe, but I think it's like the warmest way of ending the show, as opposed to,
Hmm.
like, it could have also been all the friends look to me and that's a blackout, but that even tells a different type of story of like, what? Something about this was just like, yep, such is life. Like our
Yeah.
friend, people leave you and people come into the world and like it's all of it at once.
Mm, I
Yeah.
love that. Well, I will
Well,
say, well,
well,
um, I just want to say a couple things that I just love about the show. If I we started gushing, we can end with gushing, I assume.
that's right. That's
Why
so
not?
yay.
There's I love that you have a very brief second with Claude, like before the
Yes.
scooter tour. And it made me think about how like sometimes when you're thrown into these situations, you look for these pockets of like maybe I can talk to you, maybe I can talk to
Yes.
you.
Yes.
I love that.
I
But
love
also
that was one of my favorite scenes to shoot because Marco and I are just very close. Like he's
mhm,
closer in age to me as well. We
mhm.
were just like, oh my God. The real romance of the four seasons is Claude and Ginny.
We could do a whole episode just on the scooter, like
I would
just the two of
love
you.
it. I
Bottle
would love
episode, let's do it.
a bottle episode.
Um, but I also wondered for myself, even I like that we get to see Ginny with her friends,
Yes.
and it made me personally think, I don't know how I would ever be in a situation like this where I wonder how maybe Ginny takes the energy of being with Nick's friends and sort of sees herself with her friends, and maybe how that's not necessarily filtered, but how maybe like the energy of that goes into the energy of this. I don't know. I've
Yeah.
been thinking about that a lot for the last couple of days.
Yeah, that's really
I don't know.
interesting.
Yeah,
I think that was one of the smartest rewrites or
it was
like
great.
adaptations
Ah,
they did. It was so because it would have gotten, I think, a little boring to just be,
mm-hmm.
are they go on vacation again? It made I was so delighted by that surprise. Like I was like, these people, like our writers just like really, that was such a smart shift, I think.
Yeah, that was great.
Put Nick in the hot seat. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. Now I'm dreaming of
Of
panels.
Joey.
Yeah, what a delight you are.
Oh,
Um,
it's so nice to meet you.
yeah, you too. Thank you so much for your time. Love the show, and can't wait to see what can't wait to see what you do next. So thank you.
Thanks so much. And I
Yeah.
hope we meet in the real world and what we can meet on the border of Michigan and Ohio and
Maybe
college
we'll run into each other in Pittsburgh on a scooter.
on a scooter heading to
Yeah. They'll
Prances.
go like this and be like, what? Okay.
What?
All right. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
You
Bye.
too.